If you're wondering how you can speed up the process of building websites in Squarespace, whether you're just looking at one isolated website or creating hundreds every single year, then this is the video for you. I'm Melwyn Davis, founder of Pixelhaze Academy, and I've been working with Squarespace for over a decade, building in excess of 500 websites. The great news is the platform has evolved to a point where it's really quick now to assemble websites and also create unique standalone pages on individual sites. Our team at Pixelhaze have taken it a step further, where we've built our own system called SquareForge. That's a boilerplate of over 250 Squarespace starter templates that work seamlessly with Squarespace own starting templates, or if you want to build sections from scratch. Today, I'm going to give you 4 tips of how you can integrate our Forge setup or build website layouts from the ground up, save them as favorites, duplicate entire websites, change the development domain names for easier future access, and also manipulate pages on both desktop and mobile. We've got a lot to cover in a short space of time, so I think we better crack on. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to duplicate Squarespace websites. And I've started off by just demonstrating SquareForge, which is the main reason why we duplicate every single website we build on Squarespace. This is a platform we built in-house that allows us to rapid prototype different sections, and we've got some examples here of custom designs that we've created that add a new layer on top of the Squarespace default layouts. And there are a few different options that you can peruse. All have different unique styles. And the way we get this to work is we go to our Squarespace account dashboard, and we've got around 500 to 600 websites on this platform. Instead of creating a website, we have pinned SquareForge as a favorite, and from this section we can duplicate website once we found it. If you've got a lot of websites, you can search for it, and we've got a couple of different options that I need to delete here, but we can see that this one needs to be duplicated. By duplicating a website, it means we can start again with the same page layouts, designs, and structures, but of course we've retained the original, making it much easier to work on. With smaller websites or websites that don't have many visual assets like high-resolution photos or video content, this process should take less than 2 minutes. If your website has a lot of assets, it's an established website with maybe 300 or 400 pages, then you could probably expect this to take quite a bit longer. So I'm going to skip ahead to the end of this process, and then we'll pick it up at the next stage, showing how you can rename a website once it's been duplicated. Okay, that process is now finished. We can see that the progress bar has disappeared from the top. At this stage, we can run another search. But if I take you back, we can see it doesn't appear towards the top. This is a little bug that I found with Squarespace. So instead, we can search for the same name of the site. And as this one finishes on October the 21st, which is just over 6 months' time, this is the one we're after. So if we click on that, we should see our copy of our website in place. I'm going to create a school template website because we work a lot with primary and secondary schools here in the UK. And I'm going to use that as my example for this Squarespace template that we're going to design in the coming weeks. We can jump through the startup tutorials, and once complete, we can click on Get Started. From this point, we have a website where we can go through and delete all of the pages that are on the previous version. But again, we're not starting from scratch. We've got all the structures that we need in place. A couple of steps that I like to go through are settings, and then I go to domains and email and the domains bar. And I can change the site ID. Click on Confirm. And what that means is you don't get a random starting point before our domain name. Our domain now is completely customized. We're now ready to start ripping out this content, replacing it with our own, or building new pages from the ground up on the menu system. Duplicating a website is really handy if you want to create a second website for the same client, or you want to evolve on existing design. It's absolutely essential for those who have purchased SquareForge, and we can see the example here because all of these startup layouts are there and ready to go. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can rename the development domain name on Squarespace that appears in this address bar at the top here. This is the bit that we're focusing on, which is the bit before the .squarespace.com. When we're ready to put a website live, we don't necessarily need to worry about this so much because we would then link up our live domain name. So now we know what we need to do. The next steps will be taking you through the process of changing this development URL, and this template will be called Mid-Wales Running Club. I'm not going to use that entire name in our settings. We're going to use Mid-Wales Running. And if I go to settings from the main menu in Squarespace, we should see domains and email. And then from there, we can see the domains tab. I click on that, and then we can see a built-in domain name. We've also got the option to connect either a third-party domain name or register one directly within Squarespace, we're going to ignore that for this tutorial and just change our built-in domain name. From here, we're looking at the site ID field, and this is what we're going to change to mid-Wales running. We could hyphenate it. Hyphens are the only special character I'd recommend using, so we could go for that route, but we're not. We're going to keep it really simple and straightforward, and then press save. What happens next will depend on the availability of that site ID. If another user has used that particular example in Squarespace, it will not be available to you. So we can now see that this domain has been set up, which makes it much easier for sharing. However, before we can share it to clients or other users, there are some additional steps that we need to go through. Again, go back to settings in the main menu. This time we're going to set this site availability, and from here we can change it from private to password protected. If you paid for your plan on Squarespace, or if you choose to pay for it now using the upgrade option, you can set it to public, but at the moment it's grayed out because that's only an option for paid customers. So in the meantime, we can use password protected, and we can type in mid-Wales, for example, as our password to access the website. Please note that that's for them to view the front end of the website. The third party will not have access to Squarespace admin, and that's good for security. So once we've set our password, we can press save. Now we've got our website password protected. I'm going to show you one final tip, and that is to go to settings once more. And if we go to permissions, we can now add a new admin to our website. And the reason I'm showing this now is it's always good to change the domain first before we add in a user. Otherwise, they may have difficulty accessing it once it's been changed, especially if this is all happening at the same time and the third party hasn't had the chance to log into the admin. I'm now going to demonstrate how we can save any section on a Squarespace website as a favorite to be used elsewhere in our website. However, when I say any section, I am excluding the footer section here. This is treated in isolation to the rest of the website, but the good thing with the footer is it needs to remain consistent on every page. So once we set it once on our Squarespace site, we don't need to worry about it again. To save a section, like this area here, for example, this one, or this hero unit, we go to Pages and find the page that we want to save the section from. We've got a number of preset templates ready to go. If I wanted to take this signposting hero here, I can click on Edit, go down to that section, and click on the heart icon. That will save the section to our panel. And now if we return to our home page, and should we want to add it in as a section towards the bottom of the page, we click Edit and click Add Section. Instead of selecting one of the Squarespace defaults, or instead of adding a blank section, we navigate to Save Sections. And in Saved Sections, we can see our new structure is available. And we can just click on the center of that section to add it to the page. If you've got sections that you don't want here anymore, we can hover over the images and click within the blocks instead. And we can click on the trash icon to remove them. We're now going to add this section into the page. And we've got the structure all ready to go. We can now choose to replace the images, either via uploading our own images, selecting from pre-uploaded images, or even browsing the stock library. Even from Browse Stock Library, we can go back to our library and choose relevant photos. Once we've made our changes, we can press Save. And this is a way of massively speeding up the editing process within Squarespace. So you've got a section saved as a favorite in Squarespace and you want to add it to a new page, but you also want to tweak it a little as well. So once we've added our saved section in the page, as with creating a blank page or using one of the Squarespace defaults, we can start to manipulate the content and move it around as we please. For example, if I want to replace this structure with a 4-grid structure, I can highlight these elements to make sure I've got everything. So click from the top left-hand corner to the bottom right. You can see the bounding box around those two blocks, and now I can duplicate them both at the same time. From here, I can move the new blocks around. However, one thing that usually happens, although it's not always the case, is that the item we duplicated will go below the originals on mobile. So by moving them to the right, just means that they're more likely to be in the right place. So I'm going to add in 2 placeholder blocks here. So we've now got a grid of 4 image blocks, and we can go in and change the images for each, either from selecting from the library or by going to Unsplash, or alternatively uploading our photos. Now we're starting to add our images. It's starting to take shape. However, if I was to just highlight one of these blocks for now and start to move it, we can see the 24-column grid appears behind. So this was introduced and upgraded from the 12-column grid in Squarespace 7.0. This is 7.1, where we get a 24-column grid, giving us a little bit more control over the spacing of elements. What we can decide here now is to readjust it, because we can see the content aligns to the left with the text, but these blocks now are no longer aligned to the right of the content area. There's a lot of empty space here that we're not using at all. If the plan is to remain like that, that's absolutely fine. But what we can do now is take these elements here and bring them across. So we'll have 1 column gap between them. And we can do the same with the title. Again, we can select multiple elements to adjust the width of those blocks all at the same time, being a really nice little time saver for you. I could choose to put the line directly below the title, and we've got the option to align vertically and adjust that as well. So there we go. We could also decide to add in more text in here to balance out the content, or alternatively, add a general call to action button. There are loads of options with what we can do with a section block, even once we've duplicated from a favorite, meaning that we can make all of our websites look bespoke and uniquely balanced. I'm going to save our progress to this stage. Now we can switch to mobile view, and we may have a little bit of tweaking to do. But as we can see, because I moved those duplicated blocks to the right of the originals, we can see that the order hasn't changed on mobile, so we don't need to change that. However, one change I would like to make is just add a bit more breathing space between each of the signposts. So again, I'm just selecting the blocks that I want and then dragging them down to fix the view on mobile and make sure that they're all evenly spaced. There's a little bit of space at the top, so I'm just going to move this content up higher and give it a bit more breathing space between the title and the button. And I could decide at the end here just to bring these signposts up a little bit closer before finally reducing the height of that section. So with just a couple of moments of editing, of course we haven't added in specific content, but this just goes to show how we can take a section that looked like this and adjust it to look like this. We can go one step further to wrap up, and that is to change the colors. If I remove the art from the background, that moving animation effect, we can change up the look and feel in a matter of seconds. We've got a number of options available to us, whether we go for a white silver background, or of course we've got the grey and dark options. These are all available by the style section, where we can change our color palette to match our individual brand. My best recommendation with Squarespace is to have a play around with these settings. These starting templates are all from SquareForge. We've got loads of hero styles, signposting, contact information, general content for short and long, and rich media, including video galleries. This is all available for a one-off fee of $299. If you're part of the early bird club, we're actually selling this for $99 for just the first 50 signups. Information is available in the description. However, you can build all of these layouts from scratch using the technique I've covered in this video. Play around with it, have fun, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.